This is a part of the body harness here. It looks like spaghetti, and it kind of is. I'm not sure what these things are called. Cover plates, sill plates, something like that. Hello everyone, welcome back to Maverick Mods. Back on the Firebird this week, and it's time for interior. Not my favorite thing to do, gotta be done. Just like everything else, there needs to be a good foundation, so to count everything that needs to go in the interior when you have a bare shell, of course, you gotta start off with sound insulation, sound deadening. I took care of that. Start from the bottom up, wiring harness, carpet, seats, side panels, package shelf, sail panels, moving forward, center console, kick panels, HVAC, dash, steering column. There's a lot to put in. I originally wanted to have it all in by this video. Ain't gonna happen. Oh yeah, and I forgot the headliner. Ain't happening. This will probably be a two-parter, so grab your popcorn, let's get started. Guys, we're about to go down a rabbit hole here that it's got to be done. Wiring. Like I said, not one of my favorites. The benefit to doing the swap with the donor car, the 2000 Z28, is I got the wiring harness essentially intact with the exception of a few items on the passenger side door which were damaged in its crash. So I've got an intact wiring harness, which is a good thing because the original harness that came with the Firebird was junk, absolute junk. So bonus and score there. However, I've got to make this wiring harness fit that car. Let's look at what we have here. All right, going left to right, because you always start left to right. This is actually not hooked up yet. This is the ECU, the computer for the LS1. Now I got to go to the right. Where am I at? Okay, here is part of the harness that's the pass-through to the cabin. This will connect to the body harness. This is the firewall pass-through. Comes around here. I've got a couple of separate wires come off of here. I believe that is probably driver's side ABS. This is probably brakes, and that I'm thinking is probably windshield wipers. And then we come over here. Can you see it? Then we come over here to our main electrical junction. This will go on the inner fender well, and then the front part of it wraps around the front of the car. I've got lights. I've got, I think this is fans, washer pump, and then it comes around to the passenger side for the lights on the passenger side. So that's kind of how this harness works. So let's stick it on the car, see how everything fits. So I got my big snake here. I'm just going to kind of set some of it on the floor right down in front for now, because all I'm really worried about at this point is this part right here, and this is the pass-through through the firewall. Just kind of want to see kind of where everything is going to be. So I need to pass all of this through the firewall. And this is all coming back out as soon as I do kind of this test fit. The reason being, I need to wrap the harness in my Alex Tech harness wrap so that everything is a little prettier. But before I start doing that, again, I need to just do a very preliminary test fit. And this is kind of like wrangling a snake. Feels like I'm kind of hung up on something inside. Now that clips in plus it bolts in. I'm not going to clip it in, so that way I don't have to worry about unclipping it again. But that's going to fit there. This is windshield washer. this, is that it? Yep, that's brakes. And this guy is, yep, that's the ABS harness. So we're good there. Now, although I don't have it in place yet, this part of the harness is going to wrap up around my inner fender well. What I was really worried about is this box right here, and how am I going to make that fit? I've got a little bit of stretch room right there, so I can kind of do that, just so that I've got enough room that this can go somewhere. What I'll probably wind up having to do is split this harness out so that when it comes around the ABS pump, or maybe even under the ABS pump, I've got enough room for everything. So what I'm going to do for now is I'm going to go ahead and get my new harness wrap up to, I'm going to say this point right here on the harness, and go ahead and get these guys redone, because the rest of this I may have to move things around, you know, a little bit here and there, so I can't just duplicate this harness completely, because some of the things are going to be in slightly different positions than they were on the Z28. I've got the first part of the harness wrapped in the Alextech split loom wrap. So like I said, all I did was start at the firewall, wrapped my separate sensor feeds, and I only took it to the first big junction right here. And I'm going to stop right there until I know that I don't have to move the rest of this a little bit here and there. Those of you that are wondering, what kind of harness protector am I using? That's not the factory, you know, rubber snaky stuff. I don't like the factory rubber snaky stuff. I found this, it's called Alextech, not a sponsor. It's a split sleeve loom. It comes in sort of different sizes. Everything from, well, I got from 1 1/4 inch, which is the big stuff on this, all the way down to 1/4, which is the individual sensors. And it comes, basically it's a braided, I got black, but they come in different colors. It's just a braided loom, and you just slide your wire over it. Seems to work pretty good, and it looks a whole lot better than the factory stuff. All right, let me get this harness attached, and then we go to part 2 of the harness, which is the interior or the body harness. I've been busy opening some containers to get the wiring harness out. This is a part of the body harness here. It looks like spaghetti, and it kind of is. I've got it laid out sort of in the way it needs to be. This is going to be driver's side under the dash. It kind of separates down here under the center console. This goes under the dash. There's the body control module. I know that because it says body control module on it. This will go down the passenger side. That box right there is for the stereo. Not sure what that one does. If we come back around, where were we? Okay, this is center console. Over here, we come down the passenger side. That is the fuel pump module. And what do we got here? Dome light comes back around. And over here is all the tail lights, wiring, bulbs, etc. This little thingy right here, haven't got a clue. I'll figure out where that goes. And up here, which I have yet to kind of straighten out, but I know what it is. This is the harness for the door wiring, and basically that stretches from the inside of one door all the way across, connects to the somewhere in that harness, and then continues across to the other door and connects to everything in the door, power windows, power door locks, etc. So I am going to put this harness, at least the beginnings of it, inside the Firebird. Disregard right now, I know you see carpet inside of here. This is actually the Z28 carpet. I wanted to see whether it would fit. And it does, but it doesn't. So we actually have carpet coming that is fitted for the Firebird interior itself. Where it doesn't fit is a little bit up, you know, under the dash. It's not bad until you get back to the footwells, and the footwells are just, well, the carpet is a little too short, and it gets really short back here because the interior of the Z28 donor car is just a hair, it's about 2 inches shorter than the Firebird itself. Disregard the carpet. I'm going to leave it in there simply because it keeps me from scratching up the interior of the car. We get to play what's in the box this morning. Not a big guess, it's actually the carpet for the Firebird, but I do have to get it out of the box and kind of put it in the sunlight for a couple of hours, kind of let the sun or a little bit of heat kind of take some of the wrinkles out of the carpet and kind of get it ready for initial test fit into the Firebird. Okay, let's get this rolled out. Let's get this rolled out first, and then we'll talk about it a little bit. Essentially, what we've got here is we've got it's a reproduction carpet. It's from, what was it? Auto Custom Carpets. Basically, those guys make scented carpets for everybody and everything and every car out there. And this is it's a cut pile. I know that the period correct, well, for the 71 Firebird is actually a loop pile. I'm not a big fan of loop pile carpets. It's a personal taste thing. So this actually is spec'd for a 74 and up Firebird, and that's basically, you get cut instead of loop. It comes with what's called mass backing. That's this kind of rubberized mat underneath it. It's just a little bit thicker than the normal backing for the carpet, and then of course it comes with the jute insulation and backing underneath there. So this is going to sit in the sun for a couple hours, and I'll come and check on it periodically. Then let's go from there. I put the carpet from the Z28 donor car in, and that was temporary. Basically, while I was working on the interior, I kind of wanted to protect my undercoating, or not undercoating, my sound deadening. So now that I've got the new carpet, this needs to come out. I'll go ahead and pull this out, and then we'll take a look at kind of what we're dealing with here and try and fit the new carpet. Since I've made some modifications to the floor for the seat mounts with the tunnel, obviously the new carpet in the front has no cutouts over the tunnel for a shifter, so I'll probably have to modify that carpet a little bit. Plus I've got some pieces on the side here that I need to test fit also and kind of get a feel and position for that. So let me get this carpet out, and we'll just lay the new carpet in, see what it looks like. It's one of the nice things about using kind of a pre-made wiring harness. In my case, it was pre-made by Chevrolet in 2000. Came from the donor car. Is that I can incorporate all the goodies I want to incorporate, and one of those is power driver's seat, or electric controls on the driver's seat. And here's the harness for that. What I need to do is I need to actually kind of clean that up a little bit, because it's kind of nasty looking. But it also doesn't fit the cutouts here on the floor to the rocker panel, and you know, it's off just a little bit. So what I think I can do here, pretty simple, is just kind of remake the harness here, or just move the wires back just a little bit. In order to do that, I need to get rid of this tape, which is really soft and gooey anyway. There we go. And so it's going to go there. These wires can come back, and I'll exit them about right here. So I'll retape, basically just retape the wires so that it allows for just a slightly relocated point for the exit for the wires for the seat. So I've got this covered. I need to do the same thing. I've got some grounds here that I've got to figure out where's a good place to ground them. You know, somewhere along the body here. These are just chassis grounds for something up here, or maybe something back there, I don't know. But so I'll need to find some place to ground these, and when I get that done, let's put the cover plate on, see what it looks like. I'm not sure what these things are called, cover plates, sill plates, something like that. I left them in primer, and the reason for that is, in all honesty, I don't remember when they came off. I think they were just bare metal when they came off. I went ahead and they're an epoxy primer now, but I wasn't sure what whether I needed to do body color or if I could just kit them in like a hot rod black, based on how much of it is going to be showing after the rest of the interior is installed. So it just sits right over here. Nice thing about it, going at this little cutout for my wire, is that everything fits. And I'm going to go ahead and screw this in place, and when everything else is installed, the carpet's in, the sill plates are on, then I can look and see what color does this need to be. Like I said, I'll do the sill plate on the other side. I don't have any wires on that one that are kind of, I have to deal with. It's just a continuous harness over there. Let me get that sill plate installed, and from there, or that, okay, cover plate, whatever, lower sill plate, whatever this thing is called. And then from there, I think I can try and maybe test fit some carpet. This is the rear carpet. Pretty sure this is the way it goes. We'll find out soon enough. Is that right? No, actually I think it goes the other way. Yep, it does. All right. There's some pre-molded humps, I guess you could call them, right in here, that fit down into footwells. And of course this will definitely need to be trimmed, that's for sure. Stick the front in, make sure I've got it the right direction. That's kind of important. The front carpet's a little bit different because it actually has a finished edge, which is supposed to lay on top of the other carpet, the back carpet, but it's a lot shorter. I don't want to start trimming that, then figuring out I got to flip it around, it's too short. I am by no means an interior expert, a carpet expert, nothing like that. So I'm just kind of going along and guessing as I go. I do know it's got to go under the pedals. If it doesn't, you got problems. I'm making progress on the carpet. Early on, one of the things I figured out on the front carpet is because of the T56 install and the need for the larger transmission tunnel, the factory carpet or the factory reproduction carpet just does not fit around this tunnel, and I had to split the carpet for a right passenger side and a driver's side. No big deal. The center console's covered all of this anyway, so that's not an issue. I've got my seat bolt cutouts done. I'm fitted really well up here. Now what I had to do is do a temporary fit of the kick panel here, because this will give me an idea where my interaction is between the carpet, because the carpet needs to go under the kick panel, and there's a lot of extra carpet here. It needs to go under the kick panel, but it also needs to come up over my little sill, lower sill plate, and then the upper sill plate will sit on top and actually hold the carpet in place. So it needs to kind of come up here, and I need to have a little overlap here. And Like I said, I'm just, at this point, I'm kind of still just guessing, so I'm gonna start making some cuts, and I hope that I don't cut it too short, because carpet's awfully hard to add on to. So I'm gonna start up here. You know, this might be the wrong side. This is the better one, because the holes line up. You know what, I'm gonna throw a couple of screws in there for now, just to hold it. Experimenting with trying to get a little bit better light in here so you can see it. I mean, black carpet, black everything's kind of tough to see. Doing the same thing on the passenger side. I've got everything pre-fitted, front seat mounts cut out, and so at this point over here, I'm gonna test fit, or pre-fit I should say, my kick panel. Let's see what happens with the wiring harness to figure out where that's gonna go. Same drill. Figure out where my carpet needs to fold under and how far up it needs to go. I've got the driver's side rear carpet in. Working on the passenger side, again, because of the modifications to the tunnel, there was no way the carpet was going to cover everything, and it just didn't make any sense to section it, because I need this, I need this, I need this, I need this, and the center console is going to cover everything. So let me keep working on this side. Now I need to make my final cut over here. This will help. Let's see, there we go. You can tell it's getting late in the day. I'm getting stiff and sore. Make this final cut through the jute. All right, I'm going to save that piece. I'm going to need it a little bit later. Just so you guys know, I am by in no stretch and by no means a Firebird expert. I'm kind of a jack of all trades. I know a little bit about a lot of stuff. I know nothing about some stuff, and I know a lot about a little bit. And when it came to the carpet on this car, the question that came up in all the carpet places and sources to buy carpet was, do you have a Firebird? Well, automatic versus 4-speed. But the other big one was with tail or without tail. No earthly idea what they're talking about. Well, as it turns out, which we didn't know, and all the people we talked to, I hate to say this, but kind of steered us the wrong way. It all had to do with this. Back here, where the carpet ends, the rear seats go obviously in the centers there. If you have a tail, supposedly it covers the tunnel back to here. If you don't have a tail, it doesn't. And there's like a little extension to the carpet. Well, we kept being told that we need to order the carpet without a tail, which is what we got. And so I need to save a piece of carpet to cover this, or come up with something that'll cover the tunnel back behind the carpet, because it's going to be exposed when the seat buckets are in place. So just one of the little minor things. Back to the action. I know black carpet and black everything kind of makes it hard to see, so I'm going to do a little light shining here to hopefully help this a little bit. It's not helping much. Okay, 2/3, so 66.666 repeating of the carpet is in. So I've got the fronts in and the rears at the center console on, just to kind of see how it interfaces with the carpet itself. And of course back here, I'm going to take pieces of the old Z28 carpet and fill in back there, and mainly for like a sound barrier between the trunk and the back seat, because the original Firebird didn't have anything back there. So I'll take, like I said, sections of that old carpet. Of course, don't worry about the side panels. They're going to get treated and fixed up and prettied up and dolled up and all that. But, so for all intents and purposes, you can kind of see the interior getting there. So carpet's a big step. I can start building from here up, and so Start working on that next. Welcome to the inside of the Firebird. Working on the last 1/3 of the carpet, and of course the replacement carpet does not, sorry about that, the replacement carpet does not, or does not provide anything under the rear seats or the back here. So what I'm going to do, I want that as a little bit of extra sound insulation. So I'm going to take the carpet that we had left over from the Z28 donor car. I'm going to take a piece of that, or a couple of pieces of that, and just fill in where the replacement carpet didn't. So I've kind of got this back piece, I might have to do 2 pieces I think, but I've got this back piece lined up across the back. Of course the package shelf is going to cover this as well. I've got it lined up across the back. I've got to hold it in place. So, well, it's going to be permanent, so I may as well use screws. So I'm going to take, how do you put a screw into carpet without tearing the carpet up? Now what I do is I take my trusty soldering iron, figure out where I'm going to put the screw. So probably about right there. Actually, yeah, probably about right there. And I'm just going to make myself a hole. Now, put the soldering iron away, because that's hot. I'm going to just take a self-tapper, pretty well located here. Okay, now let's hold that carpet in place for now. Let me do the other side, and then we'll start working on trimming the bottom of this carpet so it lays and drapes flat. We're back. Now that I've got it hanging, basically same thing, scissors and my carpet knife. Just I'm going to trim this so that it lays flat. Do a little bit at a time. A little hard to cut through because there's jute backing on it. And I want to keep the jute backing as much as I can because that's good for sound insulation. Try not to tear it up too bad like I just did. Now, let's work on the corner here, or the side I should say. Now, the side pan was going to cover this, so I'm not too critical about that. I just want to make sure it lays flat. Now, it's definitely not going to be perfect because this is basically molded for another car, but it's going to be good enough. All right, so I think the carpet is there. Well, I know it looks a little rough, it's the wrong color, but every bit of that back there is going to be hidden, and everything underneath here is also going to be hidden. The seat bottoms, seat back, and the side panels will basically cover all of that. So let me go ahead and put the seat back and the seat bottoms in, and let's take a look at it there. Before I put the seat bottoms and back in, let's take a quick look at them. These are actually the seat bottoms from the Z28. There's actually they're both the same left and right. This one's got a tear in the leather, but we have sourced a replacement and it's on the way. So that and it's a complete unit. It's the cover, cushion, bottom, I mean everything. It's a unit. So it's on the way. Over here is the seat back. Now the seat back took a little bit more work because when it was in, it sat too tall in the car. Let me find some good light. What I had to do was trim the bottoms of the cushions, and you can tell that's about 3.5 inches, about what I had to trim off the bottom. The center was good, but the bottoms needed to be trimmed about 3.5 inches. And I had to relocate the bracket here. There's a metal brace along the side here. Had to move that up 3.5 inches. And rather than go to the expense of redoing the cushions and making new cushions, I just put some snaps in, because all of this will be hidden. And from the top or from the front, that's what it looks like on the bottom. You can't tell. So, like I said, now why use these cushions and seats? Okay, gotta take a break. It's hot. Okay, so why use the Z28 back seats and cushions? The front seats were a no-brainer because they're black leather, the seats were in good shape, the cushions were in good shape, other than the passenger seat I had to replace the frame on because of crash damage, and the driver's seat was power. So it's kind of a no-brainer. Rear seats, we got a set of rear seats with the Firebird, and the cushions, I mean, let's start with the top down. The covers were horrible. The cushions, well, that's where most of the mouse nest came from. The cushions were eaten pretty much all the way through. The mice had gotten to them over the years. And the frames, both the seat bottom frames and the seat back frame, were rusted to the point of almost non-existence. So there was nothing left of those seats to save. And we would have had to buy new frames, new cushions, new covers. And there's a set of Z28 seats right here that just require a little fabrication to make fit. And that's the reason. So let me go ahead and get them installed. Let's take a look and see what they look like with a little carpet around them. All right, we're back inside, and I've got the back seats in. Seat bottoms are bolted down. I probably have to take them back out at least once more, but seat back is in, and doesn't look too bad. I am going to probably build a little bit of an armrest between the two seats, and because otherwise I've got to do something with that different colored carpet back there. I think an armrest in there probably would, I think I can do something pretty good looking there. Next up, I'm going to put the side panels in and check them. You can see there's a little bit of a gap in there. When I get the side panel in, you'll see it needs a little bit, it needs to be a little bit, you know, to fill in that gap. You'll see it when I get in there, and I've got a plan for that. With the seats in, the seat back in, now I'm going to turn my attention to the side panels here. And I've got the, what's that, driver's side panel in. And there's a gap, and that's because these seats are physically just a little bit narrower than the original Firebird seats. And it doesn't look terribly bad now, but when you take and actually put the panel in place, I've got probably just a hair over a 2-inch gap between the seat back and the sidewall, and pretty close down here as well. So problem is, or the question is, how do you fix that? And the solution is going to be, I'm just going to create and fill this area with XPF foam. And let's go ahead and show you what that stuff is. You can buy this down at any home improvement store. This right here, pull it out so you can see kind of what it looks like. You guys have probably, if you've been to a Lowe's or a Home Depot, you've seen this stuff. There's two different kinds. This is actually insulating foam, but there's two different kinds. There's the white, which is called the I can't remember, EPS, I believe it's EPS foam. Then this, which is XPF. And the difference is this is formed from PVC plastic, and the EPS foam is formed from something else. This is a little bit more rigid, it's a little bit more durable, a little less crushable, for lack of a better term, and you can cut it, you can shape it, you can sand it. And I think this sheet right here in particular, you can buy these I think in like 1/2 inch, 3/4. This is a 1-inch piece, and I think what I'll do is just kind of layer this until I get the thickness I need. So let me get that side panel out, and we'll start cutting on this, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. So I got my side panel out. The idea is I'm probably going to have to put 2 layers of the foam to make up for the 2 inches. And so I'll put the first one along the edge of this molded in part here. I don't want to get rid of that because it adds a little bit of rigidity to this panel on the back side of it. So I'll run the first sheet up to here and the second sheet over the top of it, and I'll come all the way up to here. One thing we are going to lose in the final covering of this panel is going to lose the ashtray. And it's kind of a shame because I was kind of hoping that we'd keep this just for nostalgia purposes, but in the end I think the ashtray's got to go away. If I can get it out, there we go. Anybody want an ashtray? So I want the first piece kind of follow this contour right up in here. I'm going to cut it oversized. I just want to make sure I get far enough into here. So I'm just going to lay it out, leave a lot of overlap. There's various ways you can cut this. I'm just using a straight blade. Probably can't cut it all the way through the first time. You'll kind of have to do a couple of passes. You can also cut this foam with a saw. I've put it on my table saw before. There we go. Always save your scraps. Never know where they're going to come in handy. So, got that pretty darn close. Except that I screwed up and I should have left that there. We can fix that. Okay, now, how am I going to attach this? Good question. So the first thing I've got to do to adhere the foam to my panel here, it's a little bit of surface prep, just sandpaper, it's 80 grit. Okay, with my panel back in, you can see it took up quite a bit of the space down there, but I've still got a little bit here, but it narrows right there at the base of the seat back. So what I'm going to do is the second piece that goes on, I'm going to start it right where my mark is. That's where I'm going to put the second piece, and I'm going to taper it so there's not a sharp edge down there. And I can probably, I'm going to leave that for now because I'm going to come back in and fill this part. One of the things I'm going to need to do before I fill in this section, I'm going to kind of need to trim this at the angle here so that I can get a good tight fit right up in here. So let me do that, then we'll try and fit this piece. What I did for the piece here was I went ahead and angled to fit kind of in the notch there. Also had to kind of sand down a little bit, kind of grind out a little bit to fit the contour here. Now, to adhere this piece, I'm going to try something different because my hot glue idea seemed like a good idea at the time. It just didn't work too well for large surfaces because the hot glue cools and then it doesn't stick anymore. So we're going to try some 3M77 instead. See how that works. Now, if that's glued down, we'll go back to the knife and we'll start trimming this. Alright, well, my hot glue idea was a hot mess. That just flat didn't work. But the 3M does seem to be holding the spray adhesive. So now that I've got the pieces down, I still have to add one here and add one there. But I'm going to go ahead and do the contours along the side here so that it's just that much less that I have to trim off with the second piece. And for that, just take handy old sander here. Yeah. Now I've just got them kind of close for now because there's pieces that are going to go on top of this. So let me go ahead and measure those out and we'll stick those on. See what happens. After a couple of hours of cutting, fitting, sanding, cutting, more fitting, more sanding, that's basically where it sits. I think I'm going to kind of round that edge just a little bit more and not make it quite of an edge of it and just kind of make it a, bring that in a little bit. And I do need to make, I've already marked it, but I do need to make a cutout for the seat belt, which is right there. But other than that, it's not bad. I know there's a little bit of a gap here. That's the next step, is to fill in those gaps. And so that's the next step. Next step, fill in the gaps. For that, I'm using Bondo. Once the Bondo dries, I kind of forgot because the last time I used this XPS, I was actually using it with epoxy. And epoxy doesn't eat foam. Fiberglass resin does, and Bondo basically is, well, it's fiberglass resin with additives. So it did eat the foam a little bit where there's Bondo on it. But the goal of the Bondo is just to fill the cracks. It's not to and smooth the transition, because next step is going to be fabric that goes over the top of this. Let me see if I can kind of smooth it out without having to go back over it. All right, well, I've got a few areas that do need a little extra filler. Let me think on a good thing to do that. I may have to break out the epoxy. All right, I broke out the epoxy. This is just West System 105. I think 205 hardener is probably fast hardener, which is probably a little much for the temperature here, but I actually want it to dry a little faster anyway. But the epoxy will not eat into the foam. Trying to get it as smooth as I can. So don't need a lot of sanding after this. This is just basically a fill coat over the top of the Bondo. And although it doesn't have to be perfect, the smoother it is, the better the fabric will lay down. One thing I do want to do is I want to create a fillet right here to kind of match that, and that'll help the fabric also. So to do that, I'm going to throw some filler in there. I want to kind of blend it down to there. Go ahead and carry it out to the side here. Now I'm going to take a spoon just like that. And what that'll do is that'll give it a nice little fillet. And just kind of blend it on the side. Might need to go back with the spoon a little bit. I've got a nice little blended fillet there. All right, now the bad part is I got to wait a couple of hours for that to set up. I think in the meantime, I'll start working on the side panel on the other side. The epoxy dried, got it sanded, smooth, transitions all feel good. Next step, fabric. What we've got here is some it's not actual leather, but it's like leather-ish, I guess you could call it. Fake leather. And this is what's going to go on the side panel. So, set that. Now, definitely want to leave plenty of overlap because I want to try and do this in one piece without wasting too much. I'm not sure how I'm going to be able to accomplish that, but we're going to give it a try. All right. Just so you guys know, I am not an upholsterer. But I'm guessing if I start on the flat surfaces and then work my way a little bit at a time, I think I might be able to do it. I don't know. I'm going to try and save the ashtray. No guarantees. See, that's already not centered properly. Yeah, I think that's pretty good. Okay. Now I'm going to start up here. Fold this over. It's about right there. I have a sneaking suspicion I'm going to wind up with glue all over my hands. And I suspect too, at some point in time, the heat gun is going to come out to make some of these corners. All I'm doing here is just working my way down, a little bit at a time. Going down into this corner is what worries me right in here. And I think what I'm going to wind up having to do is cut it here, which is why I don't think I'm going to be able to save the ashtray, because I'm probably going to have to put a like a shelf or an armrest here covering that. We'll see. Well, that took quite a bit longer than I thought it was going to. It's a little bit harder. I knew I was going to have problems in here. And I know this looks ugly. And I've got a big kind of open spot right there. And I was kind of hoping to be able to keep the ashtray just for nostalgia purposes. I have a plan. So let's work on that. So here's my plan. I'm going to take another piece of foam. I'm going to create essentially an armrest. Now it's going to be a rigid armrest, but it's going to kill two birds with one stone. I'm going to cover this up because I can cover this separately and then glue it down. I can also, once it's glued down, cut out my hole for my ashtray. I went ahead and cleaned my edges up, rounded the corner to match the radius here as best I could, and rounded these edges off just so I get a better transition on the fabric. I'm probably going to hit these just, well, you know what? I'm not going to hit those because the fabric is going to kind of do that for me. So I'm going to cover this and see how it fits. Got my little cover piece covered, and it's going to fit right there. It's going to cover up the worst of my sins. All I've got to do is glue this in place. And once it's glued in place, I can probably just go on the back side and cut out the get the cutout for the ashtray. All right, fellas. Well, I'm just relaxing in the back seat of the Firebird, taking a break. Got side panel done. Let's take a look at it. There it is. They got some wires in the way there. I know the light kind of looks a little bit weird here. It actually looks pretty good right there. It turned out pretty good, I think. Even got the ashtray back in. So basically, what I've got to do now is I have to replicate that over there. Once I get that one done, then I can continue on. Remaining on the interior, next up will be the package shelf. Finish up the headliner, get the sail panels in, The back will be on the seat belts. Sorry, seat belts. And then I can continue with the ducting for the HVAC box and then get the dash in. Almost done. That's going to do it for this week, guys. I'm plumb worn out. Didn't get as much done this week as I wanted to. Still got a ways to go. But I got the wiring harness in. I've got the carpet in. I've got the rear seats in. A half of the rear side panels, sail panels are almost done. Next week, I'll round out the rear of the passenger compartment with the package shelf, get the sail panels in, get the headliner done, which I've got half the headliner done already. And then somebody sent me the wrong color fabric for the headliner. So that'll have to be next week as well. So next week, in addition, get the HVAC ducting in, get the dash in, steering column in. Hopefully I'll button up the interior, and then we can move on to doors and fenders and the rest of the body panels. So that's what's coming up in the very near future. Certainly appreciate everybody watching. You know, if you want to subscribe, doesn't cost you anything. Think about it. Just hit that subscribe button. Again, thanks. See you guys next week. Everybody, have a great day.